All right, hello everybody. We're almost ready to start, maybe one more minute. Meanwhile, I can close that and right, call it class. Let's see. So first of all, it should tell you somewhere that we're recording. I think I have to tell you if I'm doing this and you have my screen. What I want to do is to make sure that you can somehow communicate. So what I want to do is allow to talk. Not sure if I can do it for everybody, but I'm doing it individually. Now you're all here, all muted by default, but I feel it's okay. We can communicate. That's the whole point. So that's number one. There you are, Ansel. You just tried it. Can you say something?
Yeah, hi, how are you?
Hello. All right. And I see Stoyancha. Okay,
My
good.
name is James. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, James, I can hear you. Yes, nice. And where's my camera? Is it here? Okay, so I'll be the only one maybe who's showing his camera, but
I can
that
turn it
is not
on too.
required.
One sec. I could figure out. It's funny because
Yeah.
I don't see the option. I see headset, Q&A, raising hand, but I don't see opening.
It could very well be that this is not set up this way.
Yeah.
Because for the webinars, they usually try to limit what people can do. I try to then undo that, but doesn't really matter. So
Okay.
what I want to do is bring up my chat. So here I am, just in case you ask. But it's much easier to just talk, right?
Yeah.
Because I may not notice this chat. So let's do this. Everyone on the chat, I'll say hello. There you are. Okay, and Ansel says hello. Very good. All right, cool, guys. Now we won't be all day about the introductions. We will just start. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. So I'm Mark, and I'm very interested in security. That's where Gidra comes in. And it's much easier if I just tell you the whole story plain that, yes, I'm interested in security for 10 years. And I started by listening to this podcast, Risky Biz, which is easy to remember, Risky Biz. So the guy is brilliant and he has been around for 10 years. And you see every week they do this. But they're very, very popular. So that the result is that you can't get with an advertisement there because they have too many good clients. And the result is also is that he's so known that essentially he is even connecting, let's say, Microsoft and Google, because everybody will listen to him. So that is where I heard about Gidra. And I heard about Gidra like half a year ago, maybe. The announcement was that, it's open source now. And he was asking the NSA guy, the no such agency, I know a few abbreviations for NSA. He was asking how hard was it to open source this? And I'll tell you the story. I'll tell you. But it is a very interesting thing. It's worth looking at. And basically, let's start. That's why I have it prepared. I'll be showing you the slides just because it's easier to go with the structure. Right. So I'll tell you the story of Gidra. I will also do the demo. I'll show you how we install it. And my major intent will be for us to think of, can we use it in any way? because NSA would really love for us to use it. We'll talk about this. In my case, I wrote an outline thinking that nobody will accept it, because you need to be pretty deep in hacking in order to really even use Hydra. But in that one technical company, one of the majors that we teach, enough people were interested. So that led me to actually write the course. That is the honest story of that. And here we are. That's part of what I said there in the course. You know, hacking is a fun thing, and I became very friendly with those people who came, and we kind of worked together. So now they tell me security news, the latest security news. All right, so there are two stories how that appeared, and they don't agree. But this is normal in this world, because you never know. You never know who does what. Is Russia hacking China, or is China hacking Russia, or whatever? So first is the official story of WikiLeaks called Vault 7. What happened is that, all right, here I mentioned, by the way, that if you want to be real, you don't run on your computer, but you download a virtual machine, and it will take you a long time to download this virtual machine. So start now. By the time that we will come to the real discussion, you will already have it. That is not really true. You're not going to do it now. It's just I mentioned that's what it is. But so on March 7, 2017, WikiLeaks started what was then called Vault 7. And this Hydra was part of that. So this was, as they say, the biggest leak, meaning that somebody, and nobody knows who, maybe the NSA itself, or maybe some whistleblower, or maybe Russians who stole all these tools from NSA. Really, there are all those theories. What they were opening were all those cool sounding tools. If you just read those names, I don't have to read them for you. I know. Tell me which one you like the most. Assassin, maybe Brutal Kangaroo. I really like that. But they were all, now I'm not sure what Hive is that. They were all really very seriously powerful tools. I'll show you one. I'll show you Hydra. You'll see how much work is there. So that was where Hydra was first mentioned. Now, why was it important to even mention it? Because hacking is illegal. At least reverse engineering the code is, according to many terms of licensing, is not allowed. Look at what Microsoft says there. So even the existence of this was by itself classified. But this time it was illegal. I'll tell you what National Security Organization thinks about this. They don't think this is the true story. That story is more from maybe reporters, maybe from books. So one of the things that was revealed there was called Hydra. I'll tell you what the name means. Then it was able to do things like hack the phones, the Apple, the Google, together with all of those things, it could do quite a lot. Now, if you want to chat something, ITA Pro is not illegal. Sure, the tool, Jim, I do agree. The tool, I'll close the door. The tool is not illegal, but if the Microsoft executable says that, sorry, you cannot reverse engineer that, then that would be the illegal use of the legal tool. At least the way I think of it, I would compare it to marijuana, which might be still illegal in some states, but the paper to create a little smoking device, that's always legal. But if you disagree, then tell me so. So in any case, we'll talk about competitors. We will. For now, we're looking just as that as it was all along. Hydra was there. It was mentioned that they had it, and quite a few mails. But anyway, it's open source now. So then came NSA, and NSA open sourced it and told a different story. I'll show you what story they told. And they said, This is a free NSA reverse engineering tool, which stands for Software Reverse Engineering, SRE, okay? Now, SRE was also claimed by Google. That means software site reliability engineering. So now you have the same abbreviation, meaning very different things. All right, now at that open sourcing event, which happened in 19, right? So happened in 2019, RSA conference, but then they also did the presentation at Black Hat. They announced other features. I'm just mentioning them as Gidra is really a framework, not just in any specific application. You can extend, you can do more. Also, Gidra allows you to work together. If you're analyzing a certain binary, well, life would be much easier if you can give 10% of that to one guy and 10% to another. So it has like GitHub capability. And finally, they released it. Here it is. It was released at version 9, which shows you, by the way, that it was very mature then. Really, they told the story that Gidra started in 2000. So we're looking at 22 years of active development, and it's even more active now. Now, a few little detail about how to install it. And one interesting thing that I found out is that NSA is very powerful mathematical kernel in the world. Maybe it has all of the mathematicians of the world who routinely have 2-3 PhDs. So my friend told me that he once taught there, and they were asking questions like, well, who did this lab environment? John, well, what does he know? He was only 1 PhD, that's nothing. These are the kinds of guys who they are, and we'll talk about more. This is still the outside view. I'll tell you the inside view later on, and also promise the demo, so stay on. So immediately after the open sourcing, they found an interesting vulnerability which allowed the hacker to take control of the tool, right? While you were doing your hacking, he was hacking you. But that was closed. So there was a question, is that even a valid thing? Maybe they just open source it to watch over you, but then it was kind of discarded. No, they probably do the right thing. So how do you install it for your pleasure? It's unzip. It's very easy to install it because it works everywhere and it just unzip. The framework itself is in Java, so that makes it safe, relatively safe, and easy. The recommended Java is 11. So I usually tell people one of the easy way to install Java is Amazon Corretto, which I found works everywhere. So that would be the 11. Now, before going to the NSA point of view, really, I want to show you. Okay, so let's do this. Here you are, you see my screen. Let me turn off the camera because the camera is really not serving any purpose. Okay. Sorry for that. Well, after you install it, all you have to do is to say git run. So I'll do this. It's on the path. Git run, that's what you do. So watch for the dragon. There you are, that's the dragon. And that's what it starts with. You can create projects here. You can create more projects. You can add, well, what it tells us is that you don't analyze specific malware, specific executables, but that you group them. For example, here I have just that one, but I can add more. So I actually prepared them right here. So I can do, let's say, I know I can do one at a time. It grabs it, it tells me what it understood. It's an ELF, which stands Linux. compiled with the GCC compiler, goes into project one called C1. So I'm adding this. It's chewing on that, showing me that. Now, what does it show me? The initial analysis, it shows the language, but it has a big bunch of different languages that it knows about. So it says a GCC compiler for the x86 processor, little endian for the how do I encode my words and so on. As you can see, lots of stuff. And if you want to really read it, well, you can always download it and run it. So you can analyze this further. So that tells me I probably cannot do two at a time. Let's try that. Let's see. Well, maybe I can. I've never done this, but if I do just one, then I see more. That's why it would be fun. I see that, and I see this. All right, now what do I do with them? And you see, I'm just doing your click demo. So here is one. It's chewing on that, and it's giving me a huge amount of functionality right away. This is called the code browser. So I will send the other window in the background. Wow, what does it show me? It shows me the actual binary insides of that particular code. Well, nobody can really read the actual binary inside, so this is what's called P code. It's somewhere between assembly and the real C language. Microsoft invented this idea of P code. But I really want to see some decompiled code. So let's go. Where we need to go is, you see all of those displays. That's for the variables, that's for the symbols, that's for the data types and more. But what I'm interested in are functions. And here I want to find the main. So let's see. That's EXE, so it's Microsoft. Well, sorry. Yeah, it is Microsoft. So that means that the structure of variables is not very understandable, but I can guess. So under _m, that's why I see my main. So if I click here, I see the main here. That is the decompile. Now, so that was what's called disassemble, take assembly and convert it to at least what looks like assembly code here, but this is its attempt to go and give it the code in C, which it is. That's a code in C. Now, that doesn't really completely understand everything. So, for example, cdecl, what is that? That's probably nothing, so I can remove it. I don't like the underscore main. I can probably remove it. I do it like this. I say edit function. It takes away the cdecl, so it's okay. But here it's more or less okay. I probably don't need the third algorithm. The third algorithm is the Windows handle. Probably not very much needed. I can at least rename them to look somewhat more normal. So without underscores. But I can probably do much more. I'll show you more that you can do here. The major idea is not what you can do, but to show you, let's say it cleaned it up a little bit, that's what you do, because what you're dealing with is a very labor-intensive way of understanding the code. Go ahead and understand somebody else's code, and you will imagine what I'm doing. Not only I'm understanding the code, and I don't know what the design was, what's the purpose of that was, but I'm also decoding from a questionable decompile, because not everything is correct. But the whole idea is that you get a free decompiler here. And now you can understand the structure of the code. I'll show you more. I'll show you more a little later, but basically I wanted to show you the tool. I also wanted to show you something else. Look at all the functionality. Now that comes up not in the project menu, that comes up in the what's called the code browser menu. And you see all kinds of manipulations here. Editing, but I'm interested in other things. I'll show you something interesting here. Under Windows, you can imagine how much functionality is that. Well, it took them 20 years to come up with that. Script Manager. Script manager shows you a few hundred scripts that are included and developed for that. For example, and by the way, every one of them, let's say, every one of them is an enormous amount of scripts. What do they do? Well, let's try. I'm clicking on that. It's just trying to compile scripts to replicate. It's doing something. I'm not analyzing every script. Let's go back. But I'm just showing you the amount of work that went into this. And every individual script is somewhere. You can find it. It's not all that hard. And you can then analyze what the script does and use it in your work. Now you begin to appreciate how much stuff you're getting with this. Now, before, somebody already mentioned that there are competitors. Yes, we'll talk about what's good, what's bad, but whatever it is, that's a very extensive functionality. We'll talk about competitors later. I'm right now introducing just that. So now that we have seen this, and now let's close it. Let's do something else. It wants to verify that that analysis that I was doing, that analysis is saved, and other people can later on join. I can continue my analysis. By the way, I can change variables here. I'll come to that. Let's say we save. Well, let's do some other executable. Here is a C1 executable. I don't know what it is. Yeah. Any comment, I'm open. So I'm opening that. I'm saying yes. Now these options are all set with defaults. I could also use some other scripts that I'm asking it to apply when it analyzes. It analyzes a lot of stuff because it doesn't know what the variable, what the code, the malware will do. So it's doing this. Can it be open? Oh, that's Mac for you. So no, for that, I would have to go into the special control panel. I'm not sure why it's doing this, but you can do it. In my labs, which are all open, I'll show how you can keep it on the Mac. In this case, that won't work because it didn't want to run this. So did it work for some of my analysis? Yes, it did. And I look at the main. Yes, here's the main. So that is a C1 executable. And what it's doing is playing with the dialogues and the passwords. I want to run it. So let me do this. Now, this is a Linux executable. So now to run it, I would have to log in into my Linux machine. And if that's too much and too deep, then I'm almost at the end of it. So let's go log in into my Linux box. If it doesn't do this, I'll just tell you what it does. I know why it doesn't, because that other box is on VPN. So let's try to do it just once more, and if that doesn't work, we'll give up on that, but it worked. So here, I will go into the same lab. Where I can analyze it. And all of that stuff is on the data. So now I can run C1. That's what it does on Linux. It wouldn't work on any other system, of course. So just give me the password. Don't just run like that, okay? So I'm saying, okay, here's your password. There's no way. No, that's not the password. All right, so I need to guess. Well, so that's my challenge. And that would be my guessing. I begin to analyze. First of all, you need to look up the definitions of this as C. You need to remember how C works. And that's really integer. But the compiler didn't know that. That is really the number of arguments in C can count. And this is the long. Well, turns out that's not long. It's a character pointer to a list of strings. So I really tell it that's what it is, even though, yes, it is a long, but I'll tell you more about this. So if I do this kind of analysis, then it changes it here, and it changes it here. Then I would continue analyze every variable. Now you begin to see how much work is involved, but at least you have the tool for that. And then analyze what it wants, and I will probably solve this problem and give it the right path. Well, that's kind of the end of demo for now, because what I wanted to show you is this is a huge amount of work that NSA puts in. So now we can close that for a second and go back to our story. So the NSA point of view was very different. They came here and they said, when we started in 2000, then I accidentally mentioned that, oh, it would be nice to present it at Black Hat. Well, 19 years later, they were presenting this at Black Hat. And they told about who they were, also told what Ghidra means, and also brought some terminology. So using all of those terminologies, you can say I am specializing in unclass IC cyber VP for SRE. And then everybody would understand you, at least everybody in this mission. But they said one interesting thing about how they work. They said that they are by mission, not by task, which means that they're given a task, help us here, help us win that war. And then it's up to you how exactly you do it. We're not, they said, we're not being given build that tool. That's what we decided we needed, but we're going by mission, which means that we're allowed to do quick exploration and failures. Failures are encouraged, very much a research atmosphere. That's what they said. And then they showed, here's we are, that's where we are. We come to work to this building. And we actually started open sourcing it in 2016. So way before this leak, and it had nothing to do with the leak, according to them. But the idea was that let's give the government and the industry and everybody a common open source platform. That was the idea. Now, even departments within the government don't know what the other ones does. First of all, well, people are like that, imperfect, they don't care. And secondly, it's all classified in different departments. So if you have an open source tool, which is everywhere, well, first of all, at least the government won't do another one in secret. And secondly, you have a lot of nice things that come with that. You can do a teamwork, you can extend it, and that really happens if you go and try to download Hydra. Then you immediately sent here, that's the first page. But then if you download from GitHub, there is no other channel, just GitHub. And then you see, that's where you download it. That would be your download the latest, right? Now, how many watches? Nothing. But how many folks? 4,000. So 4,000 people more or less work on that as well, not just the government. How many stars? Well, 30,000. That means it's quite popular. How many pull requests? That means there are 175 suggestions that here in NSA we have something nice for you. And out of the issues, what's interesting is how many closed. That's what we really want to see. So 1,000 opened, but there must be a number of closed issues somewhere. Okay. Show me that. That's open. If I look for closed, oh, it says here, okay, 1,000 open, 2,000 closed. That means people are really actively working on this. So that's the effect that they've achieved. They said, we will open source the tool. And I was surprised that I got at least one training to start with. Well, they were surprised that they got 500,000 downloads. in the first month. How many people are doing this kind of activity? Must be enough, right? So that's what happened. They saw that there is a need. We're talking about, well, a long time ago, they needed all of that. But the end result was, by the way, that's my picture of Hydra, and this is Hydra. There's a legend about Pegasus and Hydra. That's where they got their name too, but not only that. It means generic hexadecimal integrated decompiling reverse engineering architecture. That's what Hydra stands for them. And it was there because of three goals that it wanted to achieve. You know, they wanted the teamwork. They wanted a framework that you can put stuff on, and something that would scale to hundreds of thousands of operations or millions of operations in the code. They got it all. They actually rewrote Java for that. Some parts of Java, at least then, were not scalable. Okay, like I cannot display a list with 1 million views, just crashes. So they have not the G table, but not J table, but G table for Hydra. They have not the J list, but G list, and so on. All right, now, does it really have 3 heads? That's the original picture. Maybe, we would have to check. Now, that was the story. The story is just because, well, if I'm playing with it, I really want to know how much power is packed in there. And if I'm doing any changes, well, maybe it's a good thing to know. So it's solid. The story was at the time of presentation, that's what it was, but today that's what the story is, and I just showed you all of those numbers on GitHub. Now, by the way, competitors, if this is your first look at Hydra, then who cares about competitors? But for those who know, or just in the future, yes, there are other guys, and they're not as bad. In fact, maybe if you're already using IDA, then perhaps you will continue, because they're both very, very good. Now, of course, if you start with something, well, that is free and open source and a common language now. You can talk to the government saying, well, I've done something as an extension to Hydra. That's why they could understand this. So competitors are good. Nobody's saying that they are the best. But there are some things that Hydra maybe does a bit better, and some things that IDA does a bit better. That's the result. Now, if you're that close to really using it, you see why it's very good. You can use it, for example, for some new architecture. All of the hardware architectures are described in a certain language called SLAY, and you can, it's extendable to the future to some extent. Now, then I'm talking about Hydra functionality, but that I showed you. I showed all of that. So maybe, what are those windows? Now, that's the code, that's the P code, and so on. So I don't think we need to go that far. I think I'm pretty well done. Now, I wanted to show you one more interesting thing, or maybe just tell about this. There is a video on YouTube. That video talks about a guy taking a well-known virus called WannaCry. Let's try to find it. WannaCry virus, that was very nice. And there is an analysis of that, how it works and how you analyze it with Hydra. One of them. If you're interested, I'll give you the link. In the slides that we will send you, there definitely will be a link. I think that's this one. So I'm not showing really that to you, but it's familiar, right? And he shows this in the proper environment. He shows this in the virtual machine so that it wouldn't encode your computer, God forbid, because it really works. And it's very smart virus, very smart, very interesting architecture. So he goes through all of the analysis as far as you can get. It's still guesswork, right? Even so, he shows what comes up and he shows how you analyze it. There are 3 parts to that. In my course, I actually do the screenshots of that. Now, for your pleasure, and it's very concentrated knowledge. It takes a long time to get it. All right, that is it. And now let's discuss. I'm open to questions. Anybody wants to say anything? Wait a second. Was I sharing the screen at the very few last minutes?
You were, yeah.
Okay, thank you, because I became scared I wasn't. All right, now the visa is here. Share the screens out. If there are no questions, I'll tell you what I was working with the people, what I was doing. I was saying, you're a big company, you deal with viruses. And it's just not proper to mention company names. But you're one of those people that we look up to. You have the security advisors. So how would you use this in your workflow? And they were thinking about, they were just beginning, but their task was different. They were not internalizing one individual virus. Rather, they wanted to protect millions of machines. So how do you do this? And there are, first of all, multiple scripts within the Gidder itself. You can run it in headless mode so that you don't have to bring up the visual part, and you can indeed run on multiple computers. So we were talking about how they are going to scale it using this Gidder as analysis tool to scale. I'm also planning, you know, I have my open source tool, which I will show you in a second, which you might even know. That is here. And that is everything right here. So it's for lawyers and you can download it here. But what I want to do is lawyers want to look at hundreds, thousands, millions of documents. So I want to integrate that with Gidder in such a way that it will take a higher view and analyze multiple different documents, each document being a virus. So that's one thing that actually I think would make sense. Okay. And in other words, how do I, in my line of work, if I want to do something with this, of course, I want to understand Gidder, I want to play, I want to understand how malware analysis works, but perhaps I may want to automate this. And I may want to analyze very many different types of malware. Well, by the way, that would probably help a lot to write attack code. So if you are into writing the attack code, Gidder again might help, because that's what other people will be using to look at your own code. So that's what we were coming up with, some ideas on how to use it. Right, so I see at least one question there in the chat, and it says, you can do your company code analysis. Yes, and that's a good thing. You can do this, Jim, and I think you can also obfuscate, deobfuscate, but no, I wanted to say something more fun. Okay, and you're saying the latest version of IDA Pro is not legal, not illegal. Cool, of course not illegal. Okay, in any case, I think I'm open to new and interesting ideas. That's not something that we're used to. It's malware, a whole new world, very interesting world. What can we do? Being that you see that's a big trend of doing something other than getting government contracts. And by the way, if you want to do this, then you go to this open source place and maybe you start talking there. They don't have anything else. They don't have Twitter, they don't have Facebook, but you can get in touch with them. All right, giving it about a minute to come up with more questions. None. All right, good. Now, keep in mind that all who registered, and there were about maybe 35 people who registered, they will get a recording. They will also get the slides. And the lab that I'm using is actually open. After all, it's open source, about open source. And I'm in this training business. So I see an interesting trend that there's more and more open materials. It's just like the books are everywhere. You go to the bookshelf, you get all of them. Well, pretty much the materials are everywhere. I'm just amazed how much work is out there. I'll show you if we're talking here anyway. So I'll share the screen and show you a couple things. So if you go to copy cat code. So if you don't know, that's a place where you can learn. But the amazing thing is that not only you can search for what you can learn, but my good friend Ernesto has all of those were not searchable, but he keeps them open. All of those courses you want to take, well, they're here for the taking. And I think my other friend, by the name of Jason, I think, or no, Innovation in Software. Let's check that. It's his. No. Okay, but in any case, lots innovations maybe in software. Lots of people keep it open. So in the same vein, my lab is also open. And that's what I wanted to show as the last thing. Okay, now I see one more. All right, thank you very much, Liansha, and thank you very much, everybody who came. All right, and wishing you all the best. Good weekend. Aha. John Hammond, you're saying is also useful. Wow, lots of subscribers. All right, I'll save that. I want to look at this later. Great, guys. Thank you so much. Wishing you all the best. Stop sharing and saying goodbye.